The challenge. The vast chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as Commander Ilara Vance stepped onto the central platform. Hundreds of alien representatives from across the cosmos turned their attention to the lone human, their compound eyes, tentacles, and other sensory organs fixated on her every move. Ilara stood tall, her dark skin gleaming under the ethereal light that bathed the chamber. She adjusted her crisp blue uniform, emblazoned with the insignia of the United Earth Federation. This was humanity's last chance to prove their worth and join the ranks of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. High Counselor Zixtal, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell, floated forward. Its melodious voice reverberated through the chamber, translated instantly by the neural implant at the base of Ilara's skull. Human, your kind has petitioned for inclusion in the Galactic Federation for 3 of your Earth centuries. We have denied you at every turn, citing your species' volatile nature and technological inferiority. Yet you persist. Why should we reconsider our stance? Ilara took a deep breath, her voice steady as she addressed the assembly. Esteemed members of the Council, I stand before you not just as a representative of Earth, but as a testament to human perseverance. In the face of adversity, we have united our world, solved our greatest crisis, and reached for the stars. We may be young compared to many of you, but our potential is limitless. A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber. Some seemed intrigued, others skeptical. Counselor Drath, a hulking insectoid with iridescent wings, chittered loudly. Pretty words, human, but your history is stained with conflict and destruction. What assurances can you offer that you won't bring chaos to our carefully balanced order? Ilara's eyes flashed with determination. It's precisely because of our turbulent past that we value peace and cooperation so highly. We've learned from our mistakes and grown beyond them. Give us a chance to prove our worth, and I promise you'll find no more dedicated allies in the galaxy. High Counselor Zixtal's form pulsed, a sign Ilara had learned to interpret as deep contemplation. Very well, human. We shall give you one final chance to prove your species' mettle. A test, if you will. Ilara's heart raced, but she kept her expression neutral. Name it. The High Counselor's next words sent a chill through her spine. Survive Zephyria. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Even the most hardened alien diplomats seemed shocked by the proclamation. Ilara had heard whispers of Zephyria, a planet so hostile that it had claimed the lives of every being sent to explore it. It was a death sentence, plain and simple. Ambassador Lix, a serpentine being known for their sympathy towards emerging species, spoke up. High Counselor, surely you can't be serious. Zephyria is forbidden. No sentient being has ever returned from its surface. Zixtal's form pulsed brightly. Precisely. If the human survives, it will prove that their species possesses qualities worthy of consideration. If not, the High Counselor left the implications hanging in the air. Ilara's mind raced. This was more than just a test of her own survival skills. The fate of humanity's galactic future rested on her shoulders. She straightened her back and met Zixtal's gaze. I accept. The chamber erupted in a mixture of shocked exclamations and mocking laughter. Counselor Vex, a being composed of swirling gases, condensed into a vaguely humanoid shape. The human accepts its own demise. How amusing. But Ilara wasn't listening to them anymore. Her focus had narrowed to the task ahead. As she was led away to prepare for her mission, her thoughts turned to Earth, to the billions of souls counting on her success. Failure wasn't an option. The next few hours passed in a blur. Ilara was briefed on what little was known about Zephyria. Its atmosphere was barely breathable, its terrain constantly shifting, and its indigenous life forms were universally hostile. She was given a basic survival kit, a standard-issue environment suit, and a small craft for planetfall. As she boarded the ship that would take her to the edge of known space, Ilara caught sight of her reflection in a polished bulkhead. Her angular features were set in determination, her black hair pulled back in a tight braid. She looked every inch the decorated Solar Fleet commander she was, but she felt a flutter of doubt in her stomach. Scared human. The mocking voice belonged to her alien escort, a being of living crystal named Crix. Ilara allowed herself a small smile. Terrified. But fear has never stopped humanity before. Crix's crystalline form shimmered in what might have been surprise. You're either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both, Ilara replied as she sealed her helmet. But that's humanity for you. The journey to Zephyria took 3 standard cycles. Ilara spent the time reviewing what scant information existed about the planet and preparing herself mentally for the challenges ahead. She knew the odds were stacked against her, but giving up wasn't in her nature. As her small craft entered Zephyrria's turbulent atmosphere, alarms blared from every console. The ship bucked and shuddered, threatening to tear itself apart. Ilara gritted her teeth and fought the controls, using every ounce of her piloting skills to keep the craft intact. Through the viewscreen, she caught glimpses of the planet's surface, a nightmarish landscape of jagged mountains, roiling seas of some caustic liquid, and plains that seemed to writhe with unseen life. Lightning forked across skies the color of bruises, and in the distance, something that might have been a mountain suddenly moved. With a bone-jarring impact, Ilara's craft slammed into the planet's surface. Emergency systems kicked in, spraying fire-suppressing foam and sealing breaches in the hull. For a moment, Ilara just sat there, her ears ringing, her body aching from the impact. Then, slowly, she unstrapped herself and moved to the airlock. The ship's sensors were going haywire, unable to get an accurate reading on the environment outside. Ilara knew she had no choice but to step out and face whatever Zephyria had in store for her. As the airlock cycled open, a gust of alien air rushed in. Her suit's filters worked overtime, and a dozen warning lights flashed on her HUD. The atmosphere was toxic, corrosive, and filled with particulates that her systems couldn't even identify. Ilara took her first step onto the surface of Zephyria, the ground squelching beneath her boots. In the distance, she heard a roar that shook her to her very core. Something was out there, something big. She allowed herself one moment of doubt, one fleeting thought of the impossibility of her task. Then, with a deep breath, Commander Ilara Vance set her jaw and took another step forward. Humanity's future depended on her survival, and she'd be damned if she'd let an entire planet stop her. As night fell on Zephyria, a darkness so complete it seemed to swallow light itself, Ilara began the grim task of survival on a world that wanted her dead. The test had begun, and the galaxy watched with bated breath to see if humanity's representative would rise to the challenge or fall like all those who had come before. Descent into chaos. The first week on Zephyria was a brutal test of Ilara's will and ingenuity. Every moment was a struggle for survival against a planet that seemed determined to eliminate her. The air itself was a constant threat, filled with corrosive particles that slowly ate away at her suit's protective layers. Ilara quickly learned to take shelter during the planet's frequent acid rainstorms, which hissed and bubbled as they hit the ground. Food and water were her most pressing concerns. Her survival kit contained enough nutrient packs for a month, but Ilara knew she'd need to find sustainable sources if she hoped to survive long-term. She set up a condensation collector to gather what passed for water on this world, carefully filtering it through her suit's purification systems before drinking. On the third day, Ilara encountered her first Zephyrian life form. She was scouting the area around her makeshift camp when she heard a low rumbling growl. Turning slowly, she found herself face to face with a creature that defied description. It was massive, easily 3 times her size, with a body covered in overlapping plates that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. Multiple eyes, each glowing with an eerie bioluminescence, regarded her with clear predatory intent. Ilara's hand instinctively went to her sidearm, but she hesitated. Something in those alien eyes gave her pause. There was intelligence there, curiosity mingled with the hunger. Instead of firing, Ilara slowly reached into her pack and pulled out one of her nutrient bars. She unwrapped it, and tossed it towards the creature. The beast sniffed at the offering, its head tilting in a surprisingly bird-like manner. Then, with lightning speed, a long, barbed tongue shot out and snatched the bar. The creature made a sound that might have been satisfaction, then turned and lumbered away, leaving Ilara breathless but alive. This encounter marked a turning point in Ilara's approach to Zephyria. She began to see the planet not just as an enemy to be conquered, but as a complex ecosystem to be understood. Each day brought new discoveries and challenges. She learned to recognize the signs of approaching storms, to distinguish between the carnivorous plants that would try to ensnare her and the rare, nutritious fungi that could supplement her dwindling food supplies. As weeks turned into months, Ilara's body adapted to the harsh conditions. Her muscles grew denser to cope with the planet's higher gravity, and her reflexes sharpened, honed by the constant need to be alert for danger. She began to map the area around her camp, noting safe zones and danger areas, always pushing a little further into the unknown. It was during one of these expeditions, nearly 6 months into her stay on Zephyria, that Ilara made a discovery that would change everything. She had ventured farther than ever before, into a region of twisting canyons and bizarre, crystal-like formations that hummed with an energy she couldn't explain. As she navigated a particularly treacherous pass, the ground beneath her feet suddenly gave way. Ilara tumbled down a steep incline, her suit's emergency systems barely managing to cushion her fall. When she finally came to a stop, she found herself in a vast underground cavern. And she wasn't alone. Before her stood a creature unlike any she had encountered on the surface. It was tall and slender, with a body that seemed to be composed of living light. As Ilara watched, awestruck, the being's form shifted and changed, sometimes solid, sometimes as insubstantial as mist. "You are not of this world," a voice echoed in Ilara's mind. It wasn't sound, but pure thought, bypassing her ears and translator to speak directly to her consciousness. Ilara stood, wincing at her bruises. "No," she replied aloud, unsure if the being could understand her. "I'm human, from a planet called Earth." The creature's form pulsed with what might have been curiosity. "Human, Earth, these are new concepts to us. We are the Zephyr. We have watched you since your arrival." Ilara's mind reeled. An intelligent species here on Zephyria. How had the Galactic Council missed this? "You've been watching me. Why didn't you make contact?" "We observe. We learn. It is our way," the Zephyr replied. "Your kind is new to us, fragile, yet persistent. You have survived where others perished. This interests us." Ilara took a cautious step forward. "I'm here as a test. My species seeks to join the galactic community, but we must prove our worth." The Zephyr's form rippled, and Ilara had the distinct impression it was laughing. Worth is not measured by survival alone. It is measured by understanding, by harmony with one's environment. The being gestured, and suddenly the cavern was filled with holographic images of Ilara's time on Zephyria. She saw herself learning, adapting, showing mercy to the predator that could have killed her. "You have begun to understand," the Zephyr continued. "This is why we have chosen to reveal ourselves. We can help you, human Ilara. And perhaps you can help us." Ilara's heart raced with excitement and apprehension. "Help you? How?" The Zephyr's form coalesced into something almost humanoid. "We are the guardians of this world, but we are bound to it. We cannot leave to make our presence known to the galaxy. You could be our voice, in exchange for your help in surviving here. You'll teach me the true nature of Zephyria, how to thrive here," Ilara concluded, beginning to understand. "In return, I'll carry your message to the stars." "Yes," the Zephyr confirmed. "A symbiosis, much like the one that exists between all life on Zephyria. Will you accept?" Ilara didn't hesitate. "I accept." And so began Ilara's true education on Zephyria. The Zephyr taught her secrets of survival that no off-worlder had ever learned. They showed her how to commune with the planet's bizarre flora, how to navigate its ever-changing landscape, and how to coexist with its fearsome fauna. Ilara learned that what she had perceived as hostility was often just the planet's natural defense mechanisms. The acid rain, she discovered, was crucial for certain lifeforms' reproduction cycles. The shifting terrain was a result of massive continent-sized creatures that lived deep beneath the surface, their movements reshaping the world above. Most importantly, the Zephyr taught Ilara about balance. Every aspect of life on Zephyria, from the smallest microorganism to the largest predator, played a vital role in the planet's ecosystem. It was a delicate harmony, one that had taken billions of years to achieve. As Ilara's understanding grew, so did her ability to survive and even thrive on this once hostile world. She learned to synthesize nutrients from the planet's abundant mineral deposits, to predict and navigate the terrain shifts, and to communicate on a basic level with some of the more intelligent fauna. Months turned into years, and Ilara found herself changing in ways she never could have imagined. Her body continued to adapt to Zephyria's harsh environment, developing resistances to toxins that would have killed her before. Her mind expanded, learning to perceive the world in ways that went beyond her human senses. But as she grew more attuned to Zephyria, Ilara never forgot her mission or her people. She knew that her time here, no matter how long it stretched, was temporary. One day, she would have to return to the stars and face the Galactic Council once more. That day came sooner than she expected. 5 years after her arrival on Zephyria, Ilara's sensors picked up an approaching spacecraft. The Galactic Council, it seemed, had decided to check on their test subject. As she watched the ship descend through Zephyria's turbulent atmosphere, Ilara felt a mix of emotions: joy at the prospect of seeing her own kind again, anxiety about how she would be received, and a deep sadness at the thought of leaving this world that had become her home. But she also felt a sense of purpose stronger than ever before. She had not just survived Zephyria, she had learned to live in harmony with it. And now she had a message to deliver to the galaxy, one of balance, adaptability, and the incredible resilience of life. As the ship touched down and figures in environmental suits emerged, Ilara squared her shoulders and prepared to greet them. She was no longer just Commander Ilara Vance of Earth. She was now the voice of Zephyria, the bridge between two worlds. And she had a story to tell that would change the galaxy forever. Survival and discovery. As the Galactic Council's ship touched down on Zephyria's volatile surface, Ilara felt a surge of conflicting emotions. She watched as 3 figures in pristine environmental suits emerged from the craft, their movements cautious and wary. Even through their protective gear, Ilara could sense their apprehension. She stood her ground, no longer the scared and unprepared human who had crash-landed on this planet 5 years ago. Her own suit, patched and modified countless times, bore the scars of her struggles and triumphs. At her feet lay a Zephyrian creature that resembled a cross between a wolf and a lizard, its iridescent scales shimmering in the planet's eerie light. The lead figure approached, its suit emblazoned with the insignia of the Galactic Council. The being inside removed its helmet, revealing the crystalline features of High Counselor Zixtal. "Commander Vance." Zixtal's melodious voice carried a hint of disbelief. "You survived." Ilara nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "I did more than survive, High Counselor. I learned to thrive." Zixtal's form pulsed with what Ilara now recognized as a mix of surprise and curiosity. "Impossible. No sentient being has ever lasted more than a few cycles on this world. How did you manage this feat?" Ilara gestured to the creature at her feet, which regarded the newcomers with intelligent eyes. "I had help. Zephyria isn't the Deathworld you believed it to be. It's a complex ecosystem, filled with life and intelligence beyond our understanding." The other 2 council members had removed their helmets as well. Counselor Drath's insectoid mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. "You speak as if this planet is sentient, human. Surely your time here hasn't addled your mind." Instead of responding, Ilara knelt beside her Zephyrian companion. She placed a hand on its scaled head, and the creature let out a low, harmonious hum. To the council members' astonishment, the very ground beneath their feet began to vibrate in response. Zephyria isn't just sentient, Ilara explained, standing up. It's a collective consciousness. Every creature, every plant, even the planet itself is part of a vast, interconnected network of life. And there's more. She took a deep breath, knowing her next words would change everything. There's an advanced species here, one that's been watching and waiting. They call themselves the Zephyr. As if on cue, the air around them shimmered, and a being of pure energy materialized beside Ilara. The council members stumbled back in shock, their composure momentarily shattered. Greetings, representatives of the Galactic Council. The Zephyr's thoughts resonated in their minds. We have long awaited this moment. What followed was a revelation that shook the foundations of the Galactic Council's understanding. The Zephyr, it turned out, were an ancient race that had evolved beyond physical form. They had chosen Zephyria as their home millennia ago, shaping the planet's harsh environment as a protective barrier against outside interference. We have observed the galaxy's civilizations for eons, the Zephyr explained, waiting for a species that could bridge the gap between our world and yours. In Ilara and her kind, we believe we have found that bridge. High Counselor Zixtal, recovering from the initial shock, addressed Ilara. You've communed with these beings, learned their ways. Ilara nodded. The Zephyr taught me how to survive here, how to understand the planet's rhythms and language. But more importantly, they've shown me a new way of thinking about life, about balance and interconnectedness. Over the next few hours, Ilara shared her experiences with the council members. She showed them how to read Zephyria's ever-changing landscape, how to communicate with its fauna, and how to tap into the planet's vast energy network. The council members, initially skeptical, found themselves awestruck by the complexity and beauty of the world they had long dismissed as a death trap. As the Zephyrian day cycle came to an end, bathing the landscape in a surreal twilight, High Counselor Zixtal turned to Ilara. Commander Vance, it seems we owe you and your species an apology. We sent you here expecting failure, perhaps even death. Instead, you've opened our eyes to wonders we never imagined. Ilara smiled, but her expression was tinged with seriousness. Thank you, High Counselor. But this discovery isn't just about proving humanity's worth. It's about a new chapter for the entire galaxy. The Zephyr have knowledge and perspectives that could revolutionize our understanding of the universe. And they're ready to share it, with humanity as their ambassadors. Counselor Drath, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, spoke up. This is unprecedented. The inclusion of a new species in the Galactic Federation is one thing, but to act as ambassadors for an elder race. The implications are staggering. Indeed, Zixtal agreed. Commander Vance, are you prepared for the responsibility this entails? You would be not just representing Earth, but Zephyria as well. The eyes of the galaxy will be upon you. Ilara stood tall, her posture reflecting the strength and wisdom she had gained during her time on this alien world. I am ready, High Counselor. My experience here has prepared me for this role in ways I never could have imagined. Humanity has always dreamed of the stars, of making our mark on the galaxy. Now we have the chance not just to join the galactic community, but to help shape its future. The Zephyr, who had been silently observing the exchange, now addressed the group. We have chosen well in Ilara and her kind. They possess a unique blend of adaptability, curiosity, and empathy that makes them ideal intermediaries between our world and yours. We look forward to the exchange of knowledge and ideas that will follow. As night fell on Zephyria, bringing with it a spectacular display of bioluminescent life, plans were made for humanity's induction into the Galactic Federation. But it would be more than just an induction. It would be the beginning of a new era of galactic cooperation and understanding. Ilara knew that challenges lay ahead. Integrating Zephyrian knowledge with existing galactic science would be no small task. Convincing some of the more xenophobic species in the Federation to accept this new paradigm would require all of her diplomatic skills, and there was always the risk that some might seek to exploit Zephyria's secrets for their own gain. But as she looked out over the alien landscape that had become her home, Ilara felt a sense of hope and purpose stronger than anything she had ever known. She had come to Zephyria as a test subject, expecting to fight for survival. Instead, she had found a new understanding of life itself, and a role that would shape the destiny of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. As the council members prepared to return to their ship, Ilara knelt once more beside her Zephyrian companion. She felt the creature's thoughts brush against her mind, a mixture of sadness at her impending departure and pride in what she had accomplished. "I'll be back," Ilara promised, both to the creature and to the planet itself. "This isn't an ending. It's a beginning." And as the first stars began to appear in Zephyria's turbulent sky, Ilara Vance prepared to take humanity's first steps into a larger, more wondrous universe than anyone had ever imagined. Unlikely alliances. The return journey to the Galactic Council's headquarters was a stark contrast to Ilara's initial voyage to Zephyria, where once she had traveled alone, facing an uncertain and likely fatal mission. Now she found herself at the center of a delegation that included not only the council members, but also a physical manifestation of the Zephyr, contained within a specially designed energy field. As their ship traversed the cosmos, Ilara spent her time bridging the gap between the various species. She explained human concepts to the curious Zephyr, helped the council members interpret the Zephyr's often abstract thoughts, and prepared herself for the monumental task that lay ahead. Upon their arrival at the council headquarters, a massive space station that served as the seat of galactic government, Ilara was struck by the sheer diversity of life forms that had gathered to witness this historic moment. Species from across the galaxy, some so alien that Ilara could barely comprehend their forms, had come to see the human who had not only survived Zephyria, but had returned with knowledge that could reshape their understanding of the universe. The council chamber, far larger than the one Ilara had stood in years ago, was packed to capacity. As she took her place on the central platform, flanked by the Zephyr's shimmering form, a hush fell over the assembled delegates. High Counselor Zixtal's voice rang out, amplified to reach every corner of the vast room. "Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Federation, we stand at a pivotal moment in our shared history. 5 years ago, we sent a human, Commander Ilara Vance, to Zephyria as a test of her species' worthiness to join our ranks. Today, she returns not only having survived, but having forged an alliance that will usher in a new era of galactic cooperation." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, a mix of excitement, disbelief, and apprehension. Ilara stepped forward, her voice steady as she addressed the assembly. "Distinguished members of the Galactic Federation, I come before you not just as a representative of Earth, but as an ambassador for Zephyria and the Zephyr. My time on that incredible world has taught me that the universe is far more complex, more interconnected than we ever imagined. The Zephyr, an ancient and wise species, have entrusted humanity with the task of sharing their knowledge with the galaxy. It is a responsibility we do not take lightly." Over the next several hours, Ilara, with the help of the Zephyr, presented their findings to the astounded assembly. She spoke of Zephyria's living ecosystem, of the collective consciousness that spanned an entire planet. She demonstrated, through holographic displays and live demonstrations, the incredible adaptations she had undergone to survive in that harsh environment. But it was the Zephyr's revelations that truly captivated the audience. They spoke of energy manipulation on a scale that defied current scientific understanding, of modes of communication that transcended physical limitations, and of a perspective on the universe that spanned millions of years. As the presentation concluded, the chamber erupted into a cacophony of voices, each species reacting in their own way to the paradigm-shifting information they had received. Some were ecstatic at the prospects of new scientific and philosophical frontiers. Others were wary, concerned about the potential disruptions to the established galactic order. Counselor Drath, who had once been one of humanity's harshest critics, now stood in support of Ilara. We cannot ignore the opportunity before us. The insectoid being declared. The human species has proven not only their resilience but their ability to adapt, to forge connections where we saw only isolation. They have earned their place among us, and more. Not everyone was convinced, however. A representative from the Vorax Imperium, a militaristic species known for their expansionist policies, stepped forward. "This is madness," the Vorax snarled, its razor-sharp teeth glinting. "We cannot allow a primitive species to suddenly leap to a position of such importance. And what of Zephyria? A planet of such power should be controlled, studied, exploited for the good of the Federation." Ilara felt a surge of protective anger, both for her home planet and for the Zephyr. She was about to respond when she felt a gentle touch on her mind. The Zephyr beside her had stepped forward, its energy form pulsing with calm determination. "We understand your fear." The Zephyr's thoughts resonated through the chamber, touching the minds of all present. Change is often met with resistance. But consider this. For eons, we watched the galaxy, waiting for a species that could serve as a bridge between worlds. In humanity, we found not conquerors or exploiters, but learners and adapters. They approached our world not with a desire to control, but to understand. The Zephyr's form expanded, filling the chamber with a soft, mesmerizing light. Suddenly, every being present found themselves experiencing a vision of Zephyria, not as a hostile death trap, but as a vibrant, interconnected web of life. They felt the planet's rhythms, sensed the ebb and flow of its energies, and for a brief moment, understood the profound beauty and balance of its existence. As the vision faded, the chamber was left in stunned silence. The Vorax representative, its aggressive posture now subdued, stepped back without another word. Ilara seized the moment. What you just experienced is a fraction of what Zephyria and the Zephyr have to offer. But this knowledge, this new perspective, it isn't meant for one species alone. Humanity doesn't seek to hoard this wisdom, but to share it, to work alongside all of you in exploring its implications and applications. She paused, looking out over the sea of alien faces. "We stand at a crossroads. We can cling to old fears and suspicions, or we can embrace this opportunity to grow, to evolve, to see the universe with new eyes." Earth extends its hand in friendship, not just to the Galactic Federation, but to every species represented here. Together, we can forge a future brighter than any of us could have imagined alone. High Counselor Zixtal's form pulsed with approval. "Well spoken, Commander Vance. It seems that in sending you to what we thought was certain death, we have instead birthed a new age of galactic cooperation." The crystalline being turned to address the assembly. "I propose a vote. Shall we accept humanity into the Galactic Federation, not just as members, but as our ambassadors to Zephyria and the Zephyr?" The vote that followed was not unanimous, but the majority was overwhelming. As the results were announced, the chamber erupted in a chorus of cheers, whistles, and other alien sounds of approval. As the formal proceedings concluded and the delegates began to disperse, Ilara found herself surrounded by representatives from countless worlds, each eager to learn more, to establish connections, to be part of this new chapter in galactic history. Looking out over the excited crowd, Ilara felt a profound sense of accomplishment, tinged with the weight of the responsibility that now rested on her shoulders. She had left Earth as a test subject, facing what seemed like certain death. She was returning as an ambassador, not just for humanity, but for a wisdom as old as the stars themselves. The journey ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, setbacks, and those who would resist the changes to come. But as Ilara stood there, bridging the gap between worlds, species, and ways of thinking, she knew that the future held more wonders than anyone could have ever dreamed. And it all began with a single step onto the hostile surface of a world called Zephyria, triumph of the human spirit. In the years that followed humanity's induction into the Galactic Federation, the universe witnessed a transformation unlike any in recorded history. with Earth serving as the nexus between the advanced knowledge of the Zephyr and the diverse species of the Federation. A new era of cooperation and discovery dawned. Ilara Vance, once a lone human facing certain death on an alien world, now found herself at the center of a galactic renaissance. Her role as ambassador between Earth, Zephyria, and the Federation demanded every ounce of the resilience and adaptability she had honed during her years on the hostile planet. One of the first major initiatives was the establishment of the Zephyrian Academy. Located on Earth, it served as a learning center where beings from across the galaxy could study the unique philosophies and technologies of the Zephyr. Ilara, drawing on her experiences, was a key instructor, helping students grasp concepts that often seemed to defy conventional understanding. Remember, she would often tell her diverse classes, the key to understanding Zephyria isn't just about adapting physically, but mentally. It's about seeing the interconnectedness of all things, from the smallest particle to the largest celestial body. The impact of this new knowledge was profound. Zephyrian principles of energy manipulation led to breakthroughs in power generation, solving energy crises on countless worlds. The concept of planetary consciousness inspired new approaches to ecosystem management, helping to heal worlds ravaged by industrialization and conflict. But perhaps the most significant change was philosophical. The Zephyr's perspective on time and existence, spanning millions of years, led many species to reevaluate their priorities. Old conflicts began to seem petty in the face of a universe far more vast and interconnected than previously imagined. Of course, not everyone embraced these changes. The Vorax Imperium, still skeptical of humanity's role and coveting Zephyria's power, began to make aggressive moves. They launched a campaign of misinformation, claiming that humans were withholding the most valuable Zephyrian secrets for themselves. Tensions rose, and for a time, it seemed that war might engulf the Federation. It was in this moment of crisis that Ilara's unique position proved invaluable. Drawing on her diplomatic skills and her deep understanding of both human and Zephyrian perspectives, she proposed a solution. Instead of fighting over Zephyria, she addressed the Federation Council. Why don't we create new Zephyrias? Her proposal was audacious. Use the combined knowledge of the Federation and the Zephyr to terraform uninhabitable worlds, creating new living planets in the image of Zephyria. It would be the ultimate test of their collective understanding and capabilities. The project, dubbed Genesis, captured the imagination of the galaxy. Even the Vorax, intrigued by the possibility of having their own Zephyria-like world, agreed to participate. The effort united species that had long been at odds, each contributing their unique expertise to the monumental task. Years passed, and the first Genesis world began to take shape. Ilara, now older but still driven by the same spirit that had helped her survive on Zephyria, led the first expedition to the surface of this new living planet. As she stepped out onto soil that hummed with nascent life, Ilara was struck by a powerful sense of déjà vu. The air crackled with energy, the landscape shifted and pulsed, and in the distance, she could see the first emerging forms of creatures born from the combined genetic libraries of 100 worlds. "It's beautiful," breathed Terek, a young Vorax scientist who had become one of Ilara's most dedicated students. "I never imagined I'd see anything like this." Ilara smiled, placing a hand on the alien soil and feeling the faint pulse of the planet's growing consciousness. "This is just the beginning, Terek. Imagine a galaxy full of worlds like this, each one a unique expression of life's infinite possibilities." As news of the Genesis world's success spread, the last vestiges of resistance to the new galactic order faded. The Federation entered an unprecedented age of peace and discovery, with new wonders revealing themselves daily. And at the heart of it all was humanity. The species that had once been deemed too volatile, too primitive to join the galactic community, now stood as a linchpin holding together a vast network of civilizations. Human adaptability, creativity, and determination, combined with the wisdom of the Zephyr and the diverse knowledge of the Federation species, proved to be a combination of unstoppable potential. Decades after her first step onto Zephyria, Ilara found herself back on Earth, standing before a class of eager young humans preparing for their first off-world assignments. "When I was your age," she told them, her voice carrying the weight of her incredible journey, "humanity dreamed of reaching the stars. We never imagined that the stars would reach back, challenging us, testing us, and ultimately embracing us." She paused, looking out over the sea of faces that represented Earth's future. "You are the inheritors of a legacy born from both triumph and hardship. You carry with you not just the hopes of humanity, but the wisdom of the Zephyr and the trust of countless alien species. As you go out into the galaxy, remember this: our greatest strength lies not in our technology or our knowledge, but in our spirit, our ability to face the unknown, to adapt, to forge connections where others see only differences." Ilara's gaze drifted to the window, where the glittering expanse of the Milky Way painted the night sky. "The universe is vast, filled with wonders and challenges beyond our imagining. But as long as we hold on to our curiosity, our compassion, and our courage, there is no limit to what we can achieve." As the class erupted in applause, Ilara felt a familiar touch on her mind. The Zephyr, their consciousness now permanently linked with hers, shared in her sense of pride and hope for the future. In that moment, standing before the next generation of human explorers, Ilara Vance realized that her journey had come full circle. She had gone from a lone survivor on a hostile alien world to a bridge between civilizations, a catalyst for a new age of galactic harmony. And as she looked to the stars, she knew that humanity's greatest adventures were still to come. The end.